till now through fitting logic and examples. The replies given by the Guru, the disciple is convinced about the first four fundamental truths regarding the soul, its existence, its everlastingness, its doership of karma, and receiver of the fruits of karma. So he is convinced, and in the first verse he'll be admitting that he is convinced. So, on contemplation, not only listening but contemplation, he starts understanding the profound truths. But as his thinking progresses, a doubt regarding liberation arises in his mind. So the disciple has raised questions on the fifth fundamental truth of the soul, being liberation, existence of liberation, or the state of liberation, possibility of the state of liberation. Why doubts regarding this? Because there are several philosophies, several religions who do not believe in liberation. Salvation, yes, but not liberation. Say, beliefs of the Christian religion, say Christianity or Islam, there is no concept of moksha, no concept of liberation in these religions. The ultimate goal of all the good efforts you put in, strive for, is heaven, Swarga, heaven, Jannat. Ultimate goal is not moksha, ultimate goal is heaven, and if you achieve that, you have achieved salvation. You have solved what you have to solve. But there is nothing like freedom from someone's will, someone's influence, karmic bondage. Nothing of this sort is put in there. So the ultimate goal, according to these religions, is heaven, Swarga. Let's talk of the Eastern philosophies, rather the Indian philosophies. So you have Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. So Purva Mimamsa talks only of heaven and hell. You do yagnas, etc., charity, etc., you go to heaven. If you choose wrong actions, that will lead you to hell. Mixed. So it does talk of birth, rebirth. It does talk of birth and rebirth. It does talk of the soul, but only heaven and hell. Purva Mimamsa. If you see Uttar Mimamsa or Vedanta, there are many different sects in Vedanta. So the Bhakti Vedanta, the Bhakti Marg of Vedanta philosophy, will say liberation is permanent proximity with God. Permanent proximity with God. I don't know whether I told you or not, but once I was in the Hughes Road, the Magic Touch Center. अपने पहले सत्संग रहता था, the group meetings and all, we used to have it in ધરમ પેલેસ કહેવાતું હતું એ તો ધરમ કરતા હતા એટલે ધરમ પેલેસ. And there's an ISKCON temple nearby, opposite lane. So one sadhu from there, he comes and he asks for an appointment. અત્યારે જ મારી પાસે ટાઈમ બી હતો, so I said welcome. He was so irritated with the giant concept of moksha. How can you ever think of becoming God? How can you ever think of becoming God? See, કેટલાને આ concept, you know Muni Tarun Sagar, I think he has left his body right now. So I'd met him in Delhi. And કડવે પ્રવચન, મને લાગે આજે મારું બી કડવું પ્રવચન જ આવવાનું છે રાજ કૃપાથી. Because Raj started sending one bottle of કડવું કરિયાતું for my sugars, then હજી કડવું કડવું છે. So he was known for કડવે પ્રવચન and lakhs of people would enjoy and benefit from his pravachans. So he told us he studied only till 6th standard. Once while coming back from school, he loved jalebis. Before he took Diksha, he was a lover of jalebis. અને કોઈ સ્ટોલ પર ઊભા રહ્યા અને બેઠા હતા અને he was eating jalebis. બાજુમાં પુષ્પદંત, some Muni Bhagwan's lecture was going on, pravachan was going on, વ્યાખ્યાન was going on. અને લાઉડ સ્પીકર્સ હતા અને it could be heard there. અને એમને કીધું मैं आपको भगवान बनने की कला बताऊंगा. અને એમના હાથમાં અડધી જલેબી, અડધી પેટમાં અડધી હાથમાં. ભગવાન બનવાની અત્યાર સુધી I just thought of being a ભક્ત and a good ભક્ત, પણ ભગવાન બનવાની વિધિ એક મેં અડધી જલેબી છોડી અને એ પ્રવચનમાં ગયો ને તરત દીક્ષા લઈ લીધી. આ તો હમણાંની વાત આવેલું 50-60 વર્ષ પહેલાંની વાત હશે. So I met him once when I had gone through the Dalai Lama convention 2014. અને રાત્રે હું દર્શન કરવા ગયો હતો અને બહુ બહુ મજાની ચર્ચા થઈ. બહુ મીઠું મીઠું બોલતા હતા. I don't know why his provisions are called Kadve. It's been translated into 18 languages. અને કેટલા books હશે, maybe 14 or 18 books. Kadve પ્રવચન. So while some get fascinated by the concept that we can become God, meaning the purest state, achieving the purest state, others just dislike it. How can you ever think કે કૃપાળુદેવ જેવી તમારી દશા? How can you ever think that way? એમને તો પૂજા કરવાની હોય, એમને વંદન કરવાના હોય. How can you even have that aim? While doing vandan, I want to be like you, your competitor. So it's like while some are fascinated, some just dislike. So that sadhu comes and says, how can you ever think like that? જેની જિંદગી ભર તમે પૂજા અર્ચના સેવા કરી હોય and suddenly you want to be same like it. Of course, then we had a long discussion regarding the concept of God and all, but he just didn't like that idea. My moksha is being like Hanuman and being in the proximity, for permanent proximity. I don't want any virahas. Permanent proximity, satat emni seva ma hajar raho, that is my moksha. So the Bhakti Vedanta would consider moksha, liberation, as permanent proximity with God. So some don't have the concept of God, some have the concept of God as permanent proximity. You remain separate, God remains separate, and He is the ultimate and you are just one ounce, and that ounce can only think of proximity with God and nothing else. Then there is Advait Vedanta, the Gnan Marg of Vedanta philosophy. So it will talk about Jivatma merging into Brahma. However it is described, it finally means extinction of your individuality. However it is explained in terms of Vivarth or whatever. But, so some are fascinated by this and some feel then why should one attain liberation if he is no more? So there are different types of moksha. Some say આત્માનું મોક્ષ નહીં થાય, મોક્ષ ને બધું તો મનનું થાય. બંધન પણ મનનું છે, મોક્ષ પણ મનનું છે, અને આત્મા સદા સંગ. So while Jains talk about Atma Kalyan, the Vedantis will talk about Chit Shuddhi, Man Shuddhi, because Atma Sada Asang. So don't talk, it was never bound, never impure. So how do you talk about purifying the soul? They would not be comfortable with this language. આત્માની સત્તા વડે ભલે મન બુદ્ધિ ચાલતા હોય, પણ the problem lies in મન બુદ્ધિ, not in આત્મા. તમારો બલ્બ નાનો છે કે તમારો બલ્બ ફોલ્ટી છે, ઇલેક્ટ્રિસિટી તો ઇલેક્ટ્રિસિટી જ છે. So somewhere so you won't hear Atma Shuddhi, Atma Kalyan, these words in the Vedanta philosophy. Jain philosophy you will get because of the Paryaya and Dravya. So Dravya remains Sada Asang, but Paryaya modifications, impure modifications to pure modifications. So you understand there are different concepts regarding, and our disciple here is well versed in different philosophies. He has studied different philosophies. He's been in contact with different religious doctrines, paths, etc. So he's confused. Moreover, he says, it is observed that while bearing the consequences of karmas, the soul reacts to it. Karmana udayma, while bearing the consequences of the karma. And when the karmas become operative, what happens? Usually we have those likes and dislikes, feelings of likes and dislikes. So, using one word, we react. And when we react, what happens? Jiva viryani sphurana grahan kade jadu. So what's happening? When we react to the favorable or unfavorable situation, when we react, we start acquiring karmas, new bondage. So what happens? You are already bound by karmas. Karmas get operative, and you association of a favorable or unfavorable situation, you react, oh or wow, whatever. Not talking of Americans, but some sthiti mein hoy. For any good news, bad news, they will say wow. So they will surely attain moksha. Somehow. So we react by likes and dislikes, rag and dvesh. And in that process, we acquire new karmas. Now these karmas will be operative. Again, there might be a difference in the intensity of reactions. But we react, we get bound again, and this cycle goes on. So the disciple feels logically, not by the influence of any philosophies. But logically also, if you see, we are conditioned to react. In fact, if someone does not react, we actually ask them another set of questions. नहीं भावियो? कहीं बोलता नहीं, મેં ફલાફલ બનાવ્યું પણ તમે કાંઈ બોલતા નથી કે સારું છે. મેં ડિઝર્ટ બનાવ્યું, કાંઈ પુડિંગ બનાવ્યું એન્ડ યુ આર નોટ રિએક્ટિંગ. તો અનધર સેટ ઓફ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ યુ પણ મને જે બેસ્ટ આવડતું હતું ને મેં બનાવ્યું, હા પણ સારું છે. સો ઇફ યુ ડોન્ટ રિએક્ટ, ઇવન યોર માઇન્ડ ઇઝ કન્ડિશન ટુ રિએક્ટ or the people make you react. So I usually take Amit Sheth with me wherever I go for food. Because એટલું બધું રિએક્ટ કરે એટલે હું શાંત રહી શકું. પહેલાં બી ખુશ થઈ જાય બિકોઝ એમને તો સવારથી મહેનત કરી હોય. એન્ડ ઇફ યુ ડોન્ટ સે કે બાપા ભાવ્યું નથી લાગતું, થોડું ઓછું ખાવ શરીરની સ્વસ્થતા માટે, તો કે બાપાને ભાવ્યું નથી લાગતું. અને મારો નિયમ છે, હું જે ચીજના વખાણ કરું ફોર વોટ એવર રીઝન, એ ચીજ આઈ કાન્ટ ટેક અગેન. એટલે મેં નિશાળને ત્યાં કીધું, તારું સૂપ બહુ સારું છે, બિકોઝ આઈ ડિડન્ટ એક્સપેક્ટ સચ અ સૂપ ફ્રોમ યુ ઓલ. મેં તો સ્ટારબક્સની કોફી મૂકી દીધી હશે, બીજું તો શું બનાવતા આવડે છોકરીઓને. સો ઇટ વોઝ સચ અ નાઇસ સૂપ. તો મેં વખાણ કર્યું. તો કે બાપા તો બીજી વાર લો. તો મેં તો હવે આઈ કાન્ટ ટેક, મેં વખાણ કરી દીધું. ધો ઇટ વોઝ ઓનલી ફોર યુ, બટ સ્ટીલ what I want to say, it's logically does not seem possible that you can get liberated from this cycle of acquiring, enduring, acquiring, enduring, reacting, acquiring, enduring. So you see the cycle. We see your lives, you will see a difference in intensity maybe. But have you actually stopped reacting? Stop acquiring karmas. Pal, every moment. Every moment there is Bandh also, every moment there is Uday also. Some karmas are getting operative and showing its fruits. The soul is enduring it. And while enduring it, again it reacts. So the disciple does not feel any possibility of liberation, meaning freedom from the bondage of karmas, cycles of birth and death which follows because of bondage. He feels if the world is beginningless and endless. The world, forget whether someone created or not. But the world is beginningless and endless. In the same way, the relation between the soul and the karma is beginningless and endless. Tell me the job of the guru. What has he to prove now? Beginningless, yes. But you can put an end to it, and that is liberation. So this fellow feels the activity of acquiring karmas and enduring its fruits has been going on since time immemorial, infinite times. It's yet going on. So one tends to believe that this is going to be happening in future also. This will happen in future also. So in all the three times you cannot put an end to this activity of acquiring karmas and enduring its fruits. Is confused. It puts forth his doubts, presents his doubts in the form of arguments and requests for a solution. So in this fifth fundamental truth, moksha che, there is liberation. Rather, state of liberation is possible. Param Kripaludev so compassionately has composed 5 verses. 5 verses on this subject. From verse 87 to verse 91. 5 verses. In the first 2 verses, so 87 and 88, the disciple presents his doubts Rather, the second doubt is because of the influence of the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. Maybe he has read a lot of text, and that's what he understands from the texts, that they only talk of Dev, Lok and Narak, nowhere a moksha comes. Param Kripadev so beautifully, without naming, just as a query of the disciple, he puts these two arguments in verse 87 and 88. And the last three, so 89, 90 and 91, is the solution to these two arguments. So 2 plus 3, two arguments and its solution. He shows the incorrectness of the disciples' thinking, establishes the fifth fundamental truth for the spiritual welfare of the disciple.